array of structures. So what is an array of structure? We have seen about structure within structure and nested structures. So what is the difference between the two? Array of structures is nothing but a group of structures organized in the form of an array. We know what is an array. An array is nothing but a collection of variables of same data type. So when you group structures in the form of an array, they all belong to the same data type of that structure. So it is possible to group structures in an array. An example for that is, you have the struct employee. So employee here is a structure tag. The members of the structure, you have a string, you have an integer variable, you have another character variable, and you are having struct date DOB. So here you are having both nested structures as well as an array of structures, because inside the struct employee you are having inside the structure employee you are having another structure date, and its variable name is given as DOB. Then you are closing the structure here, terminating it with a semicolon. And for this employee structure, you are creating a variable which comprises of an array of 5 members. So here if you see, you are having 1, 2, 3, 4 members. The fourth member is the structure itself. So you are allocating a maximum size of 5 to the array variable of the type structure of type employee. So this is how you declare an array of structures in C. So when you declare such an array of structures, you have to know how to access it. We have already seen how to access nested structures. So the same concept is to be used here. Using the structure variable, you have to access the direct members of the structure using a dot operator. But to access the members of this structure date, you have to use this DOB variable. So now let us see how we are going to access the members when it is declared as an array of structures. So this is an example where you are having structure student. So here student is the structure tag. You are having 2 members, one is of type integer, one of type string. You are closing the members of the structure. You are not having any variable over here. Okay. So here if you see, the structure is declared outside the main function. That means this becomes global in nature. This is accessible throughout the entire program. So that's the first thing to be noted. Next, you are having the main function. Inside that you are having a variable I of type integer, and here you are initializing the values for the members of this structure. So what are the values you are giving? Student S of 2. So here is where you are having the structure variable being declared. Here if you see, you do not use the keyword struct at all, because the struct is defined globally. So inside the main function also, it will accept that the student is a variable of type struct or a tag of type struct. So you just give student, you give the variable name, and you are declaring it as an array which can hold a maximum of 0 and 1. So 2 values, and you are initializing the values for the members of the structure. As I said, when you are initializing values this way, you ought to remember the order in which you have to initialize. First you are having an integer, then you are having a string. So that is how the initialization is done here. First you are having integer value and a string, closing it within braces, separated by comma, then the second value. Again an integer, then a string, closing it within braces. Again the entire initialization you are closing within another set of braces, and you are terminating it with a semicolon. We are initializing this particular structure variable with 2 values. This is because this is an array variable whose size is given as 2. That means it will have 2 index values, 0 and 1. So this 11 and Anand is for the index 0. This 12 and Kumar is for the index 1. So this is an array variable. So we are initializing it with 2 values in one shot. And during initialization, we have to make sure that the braces are balanced. You have a separate brace for each of the values, and the total initialization function also is enclosed within 2 braces, and it has to be terminated by a semicolon. So now student S of 0 will hold the value 11 and Anand. Student S of 1 will hold the value 12 and Kumar. So that is how the compiler understands this initialization. So now we will see how it accesses these values. So now we are going to print the details that we have entered. So again we are using here a student report is a print display message. You are having a variable over here. You are having this loop initialization. I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus. Now here if you see I am giving I is less than 5, but I am actually having only 2 values for the variables, character as well as the integer for the student as well as the roll number. So in such a case the compiler will simply print some garbage value. So that is the point that is to be noted over here. Instead of giving an integer variable like this, we can have some mechanism where we identify whether the number of values in a structure is complete or not. And inside the for loop, what am I doing? I am printing the roll number s of I dot roll. That means first it will be s of 0 dot roll, next it will be s of 0 dot name. So s of 0 dot roll will be 11, s of 0 dot name will be Anand. Again I increment the value of I, it will become 1. I will print s of 1 dot roll and s of 1 dot name. That means I will be printing 12 and Kumar. So in such a situation, this is how we access the members of a structure. So here the difference is not much. If it was not an array, we will just give s dot roll or s dot name. Because this is an array, we have to mention this extra information of the index, s of I. So here instead of using this for loop, you can simply give s of 0 dot roll, s of 0 dot name, s of 1 dot roll, s of 1 dot name. That is okay when we have just 2 or 3 or 4 values. But when you are using it in complex applications where you have around 100 values, it is always better to go in for a for loop, because it will just keep getting incremented and it will keep printing the values as such. So here the important thing that you have to notice how to access. The only difference between a normal structure access and the array of structures access is the use of this index value, because using an index only you can identify the location of the value inside an array. And finally the output is printed for the first one. Similarly for the second one, the output will be roll number 12 and name as Kumar. So this is how an array of structures is defined, declared and accessed using structures in C.